So hey guys, today we're going to be talking about card mechanic that does not exist. So before we get into that, we gotta do some background here. So with pendulums, there is a very big issue with pendulum cards in general with how they function. So if we go to let's go with DD, right? Conceptually, this could be very disgusting, and Super Heavy Samurai is a really good showcase of that, better than this. But yeah, let's say we normal summon 7 Kepler, right? And then we'll be able to grab a gate, which we will grab. In this case, it'll be Dark Contract with the gate here. Adds another DD monster, in which case we'll go with Griffin here, okay? So next we can link these two off for Abyss King Gilgamesh, which just places 2 scales. So in this case now, let's assume we place the highest and lowest scales we have. So we'll just go with, uh, I guess it would be Kepler plus Rage. Okay. So now let's pretend there's actually no locks on this deck because there are locks on this deck. So this is why you can't actually do this, right? So now we have scales 0 to 10, and this was a 1-card combo. And this isn't actually combo from here exactly, because instead of going Kepler, you would normally search. It should be for this hand. I believe it's uh, Cerberus, which is this card, which still has like pretty decent scales. But basic idea here is that if we pendulum summon here from hand and our extra deck, we have DD combo plus a whole nother combo that we could do based off of whatever card we pendulum summon. So for example, if we were to do like um this isn't the best card, but it could be like Vanquish Soul Razin. We could special summon Primera via pendulum summon alongside our actual pendulum summon of whatever combo pieces we are going to do with the in-archetype combo here. And then we have like a random other combo where we summon one card and it's just full combo or whatever that deck is. And this is problematic. And we could technically pen summon more than just a Primera. So while we're here, we could, for this hand specifically, we could pen summon Lurie. And then we could full Fiendsmith combo plus full Centurion combo plus like full DD combo essentially off of normal summoning Kepler when you kind of shouldn't be able to do this. So you literally can't do this with DD, but like with Super Heavy Samurai, this is actually pretty damn viable. Just randomly having another engine and then pen summoning it out with like your Super Heavy Samurai combo. And also while you're there, might as well set up some protection before you perform like your pendulum summon. Because you can just make Baron and also set up your combo in Super Heavy Samurai, and then technically penned out whatever the hell you want with a Super Heavy Samurai. So probably should have used that as an example, but other archetypes still have ways to kind of like set up scales pretty quick. What scales were these again? We have scales 8, and then the other one should be like scale 1, I think. Here. Yeah, skills 1. So you can pendulum summon any monsters from levels 2 to 7. Which is pretty ridiculous if you ask me, because for example, if I'm playing Super Heavy Samurai here, like you could already have just special summoned the unicorn, but the idea of just like special summoning unicorn from your hand, or actually we could do this with Regenesis even better here. Let's see. Wait, this is level 8. This doesn't work. If it were level 7, we could just pen this out, and then we could trigger its effect, right? There was that idea, that's what I was thinking of. And then with Kashtira, like technically you would just special summon Unicorn and then do your Super Heavy Samurai combo, like normal summon your Super Heavy Samurai first. Or after you special summon Unicorn, but here the idea that you could special summon Unicorn via Pendulum Summon, I think that's pretty nasty, actually. So, yeah. Ishtar Unicorn is just essentially a cash full combo. You can just do that after your super heavy samurai combo. And that's just something you could do. And that only requires like what one extra deck slot for this specifically. That'd be like uh Unicorn grabs Theosis special summon Fenrir. Fenrir grabs right side effect to banish just something, maybe your other unicorn, I guess. Sure, and then you have like 3 level summons, make Rise Art, boom. Now you have Rise Art plus whatever super heavy samurai board, and you just do that, I guess. Well, cash is not a good example because you could have done the cash play first, but if there were like uh 10 cards that were kind of like I guess Martha, but with no lock, you could just like special summon your pen monster because you control no monsters, yada yada, and then do a cash combo later because you penned out like I guess unicorn, which is goofy. But you know, the fact that we could pen out all of these guys also kind of goofy. And yeah, that's one of the problems of Pendulum. Being able to summon things outside of your archetype from the hand. And you know, sometimes uh, you let it happen, sometimes you don't. It's kind of like kind of muddy. So this effect I think is kind of interesting, where we have the effect of let's see, where is it? You cannot pendulum summon monsters except for DD monsters. This effect cannot be negated. And I have no idea why sometimes there are conditions on cards kind of that are effects, but not effects. Kind of confusing. Like with low here, actually. Or some Gishi cards. Let's see. I'm not even sure if you can negate this effect of low here. I think you might not be able to actually negate this if you imprim low, or maybe you can. Is this doesn't need to be used from field technically. So if you imprim this, I don't think this actually stops the ritual summon, and I think you can still tribute low. Would need to double check, I guess. And there might be a card where it does work like that, and it's okay to do so, but maybe low isn't one of those cards. It's just like a wording thing and all that. But yeah. Focusing back on topic, I'm thinking like if I were to do something with these, we could change a little bit with how the mechanic works. So we don't have to like have insane locks like with DD and still have the cards kind of playable together, but I don't want like pendulum synergy with deck. So I guess we have like Melodious, which kind of does this, but I still dislike how Melodious does it. Let's see. How do you spell these cards? Yes, okay, got it. So you have these scales. We have this one, so that scales 1 to 9. So this is honestly even more disgusting than Super V Samurai by a little bit. So that's between levels 2 and 8. And let's see. You cannot pendulum summon except light monsters. This effect cannot be negated. And then we have Refrain here, which doesn't have this effect, right? Wait, what? Oh. This doesn't have the you can't pen summon effect on this one. But, alright. The idea I would want to see implemented more is, you know, we can have stuff like DD and Gilgamesh, or like Magispector. Magispector is a bit too late though, I think. But idea of essentially your pens being just the same scale. Like all of them having the actual same scales. So the idea behind this is that it would fundamentally change how Pendulum Summon would work with the deck. So if we add all of our pen scales as the same, then we could have one card or like several cards with the effect to apply its pen scale when pendulum summoning your archetype monster. As you like, the text would be something along the lines of Let's see, what was the text for this one? I'll just cross-reference real quick. Okay. You can pendulum summon blank monsters? Or no, if you pendulum summon archetype monsters, you can treat this pendulum scale as pendulum like 1 or something. And then all of the pen scales on all of your monsters would be like pen scale 7, for example. And even if you have a duplicate, then like if we had like the equivalent of double Kepler, we could treat one of them as the lower scale and not just as the higher scale, and this would not be activated effect. This would be like something continuous, so it's not negatable either, which would be kind of annoying. And this also fixes another issue a little bit, where if we have cards with the same scale, if we have like 2 low scales, and our opponent pops, so they have the choice of like popping high scale or low scale. If they choose to pop our high scale, and we only have a second low scale, then we can't play with our pendulum cards here, and that's like really inefficient. Like we're talking about like the inefficiencies of pendulum here, where it kind of just sucks to play pend, because to perform a pendulum summon is kind of like stupid, I guess. So that'd be like if we really break down how pendulum works and we use like normal pendulums. So let's see. Normal pendulum. All right, this still doesn't work. So we have ideas of like, oh, can't remember the names of the cards. Such a struggle. How do I even search this? Pendulum. And then what? Why does pendulum have its own section? Man, so annoying. But yeah, basic idea with a lot of pendulum cards might be like, we need, I guess with ignites it would kind of work. So we would need to have like ignite paladin, okay? So then we would need to card open Margrave, and then we would need a third card that we want to pendulum summon, right? So that'd be like, we grab Margrave, we grab paladin, and then we pen summon Margrave, and that's like a 3-card combo just to summon the Margrave, which is dumb. Just straight up dumb. That's just 3 cards to put 1 monster on the field, or, you know, we could just normal summon that monster at this point, you know? But in terms of, like, the advantage you need to build advantage to perform an actual pendulum summon that does something at some point. Because, you know, for the most part, unless you were to throw in, like, a Link 1 into the deck, which makes it kind of, like, moot point a lot of the time. But, you know, if we were to build advantage, because we need 2 monsters on the field usually to make an extra deck monster. So we need to be able to put at least 2 onto the field to do that, which if it's a struggle to do so, it's actually problematic in so many ways. So idea of like the extra deck summoning as well being jank. But yeah, main thing I want to see is just like having same scales on all of the archetypes monsters, and not being able to pen summon outside the archetype, but no luck necessary, because you won't be able to pen summon anything aside from like your archetype monsters. And I mean, how the main deck cards might function or how pendulum effects function, I mean, that's like still somewhat flexible, but here we definitively will not have the problem of like what Super Heavy Samurai and Melodious still can do is you can still penned out cards that are going to be potentially relevant for combos. So in this case, we have like Fiendsmith being light, so we could go Fiendsmith combo after this. And then Super Heavy Samurai can just pen summon out like literally whatever you want. So if we pen summoned out like, I don't know, we'll go with Uni Zombie plus like Necroworld Banshee, that's just like Zombie World combo for no reason, plus Super Heavy Samurai combo. Like, dumb. And that's not efficient. I guess something like a Centurion combo would be a lot more efficient, kind of ish. But yeah, just really thinking of doubling up on scales, and then just changing the scale for the pendulum, or the pendulum summon for whenever you pen summon out that archetype's monsters specifically, and only then. And then there would be no lock necessary. But I mean, with how DD is designed, the lock is perfectly okay, I guess. But you know, this design space is kind of open, if that makes sense, for you to do something like this. And I mean, it solves like two kind of issues with Pendulum, in my opinion, being the having no high scale or low scale when you're affected by some removal, and then there's the idea of also just needing certain scales to make the deck function, and then there's like potential bricking issue. So with BD, they solve this in a different way, but yeah. Let's assume I play one copy of Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok, right? And I really want to use this particular scale, but I also will need a high scale plus low scale for like my combo, right? So the issue specifically is, what if I open this one of Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok? Then if I do Abyss King Gilgamesh to scale, I can't scale this Ragnarok later. Except you can, because you have specifically two cards that are able to remove your pen scales. So you have Griffin, and then you have Orthros here, which is able to do some popping stuff, basically. Kinda. I think this is going to be worse than Griffin, because you would have to do like pop your other scale plus pop Orthros, and then scale like Ragnarok, and then you're just down one scale. It's like super awkward, and you can't pen summon next turn. But you know, Griffin, you can just pop itself to give a monster 500 attack, which doesn't matter. But this also requiring a dark contract kinda sucks. If it didn't require a dark contract, this would actually be a good bit better. Because sometimes you do want to pop Griffin, just for reasons involving like pen summoning from the extra deck. And you just don't have combo unless you pop Griffin sometimes. But you know, if you open the scale here, being able to remove your scales is actually kind of important for when you have to set up your scales, which is like another problem with specifically a card like Gilgamesh, is you don't have the option to place one DD Pendulum monster, it says place two specifically here, right? And not only do we have to place two DD Pendulum monsters, they have to be different names and whatnot. And you know, there's actually various conditions on here. And of course, we do need Gilgamesh. Like, we do need to activate Gilgamesh to combo, because otherwise we might not have enough scales. Like, if the only scale I have available is Ragnarok, then, you know, if I were to just scale Ragnarok, it wouldn't necessarily do anything. And also, if I were to scale Ragnarok, I then would not be able to activate Gilgamesh effect, which you get locked out of that. And, you know, potentially, I can see this working as a solution. That's just how I'm feeling right now. I mean, could be missing something like important that would make my whole idea just like not work, I guess. But at the moment, I can't think of any reason why it wouldn't be a reasonable change for like some future pendulum decks, just to increase consistency a little bit and not have to worry about kind of like tricking in dumb ways here. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. And well, actually, okay, just worth mentioning, Magispector actually combats this in a different way, where with Orthrus Nue, you're adding two Magispector Pendulum monsters with different names from your extra deck to your hand. So because of how this works, it's not placing the scales directly, so you still have some leeway with how you use your scales a little bit here. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.